Have you ever felt stuck between ambition and overwhelm, where every decision feels like the wrong one, and you're juggling between draining your wallet and your own peace of mind? It's a tough spot, especially when you know you're meant for more. What if that pain in your first investment mistake was actually the start of your whole future success? You're listening to How to Hack Real Estate with Scott Krusemark, the show where we simplify the path into financial freedom, one real world story at a time. This is DJ Funny Money, aka Jake. As always, our guide is Scott Krusemark, longtime investor, coach, and the one who shows all the hacks to turning hard life lessons into smart strategy. Today on the show, we're digging into the question, how do you move forward in real estate when your first deal goes sideways and you're still bleeding from it? To help us unpack this question, we're joined by Jaren Underwood, a former petroleum engineering student, athlete, and now a determined entrepreneur who's navigating the highs and lows of real estate, sales, and fatherhood. In this episode, you'll hear the brutal reality of a first-time real estate investment gone totally wrong, how to evaluate when do you walk away from a property that in the end is holding you back, and why crafting a personal vision might just be the most powerful investment you ever make. And we're even going to dig into what it's like to build a business with no inventory and why sometimes the biggest win is just not doing it alone. So if you're ready to stop your bleeding, regain clarity, and get on back towards financial freedom, stick around for this episode of How to Hack Real Estate. All right, so welcome back to another episode of How to Hack Real Estate with Scott Krusemark. How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing good.
Other
A little
than
bit of
that
swelling
cash
still
retina.
from I had some cataract surgery, and so there's still a little bit of swelling for it. It's not much, but it's a little.
Yeah,
So
not
I
much. You
feel
can hardly
fine.
tell. You can hardly tell. Well, I'm
Yep.
glad you're here with us today. Our guide, as always. With us today is Jaren Underwood. How you doing, Jaren?
Doing fantastic. Really grateful to you guys for having me on. I'm excited.
Well, yeah, no, we're
Yeah, me
excited
too.
to dig into it here for sure. So, um, so as you know, Jaren, Scott is a veteran investor. Um, has built a portfolio over the years. But not only that, he is like this polymath Renaissance man. He's done so many different things, and he really loves, because of all that experience, really kind of meeting somebody where they're at who might be an aspiring investor, and helping them really kind of carve out a path into real estate. And when we met at Faster House, you were asking some questions to the rehab man himself, Nick, the
Yep.
rehab man, and so I was like, "Oh, aspiring investor here." So we're excited to get into your life story, and I'll have Scott take over here, and just know the listeners are going to be excited to learn something, being kind of living vicariously through your conversation.
Sure. So in a second, I'll ask you kind of your background, but let me
Okay.
give you a little bit of my background so that you have the words to use. So I've been a computer consultant now. Well, I got into computers in 1970. So consultant since 86, and I'm still doing computer consulting. So I work on the kind of the mid-range systems. I'm a problem solver. That's what I do. So in 2002, my wife and I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, which is a great book, but it's a why book, not a how book.
Hmm.
So we jumped in, we bought 10 unit and 2 single families on the same day from 3 separate sellers. We'd actually put in 6 offers, and here's where those folks that have been around a little while go oh shit, that we all 6 were accepted.
Oh,
We,
okay.
we offered way too much. Way too much. I mean, we talk about one of the equations is you calculate the after repair value. That's what we offered. It was like, no, you're supposed to cut it down and then cut it down again. So, but we learned. We took action. So by 2008, we had 27 doors. And that's a fairly short period of time. That's 6 years.
Yeah.
So it's definitely doable. And maintaining a full-time computer consulting on top of all of this, or underneath all this. And then 2008 hit us hard because we had bought a number of properties wrong, and we lost about half our properties because of 2008, but we kept at it. Lessons once learned are unlearned. And so we took those lessons that we had learned early. We'd gotten some serious education. And so by the time we were done, we had a number of properties that were in good shape. 2008 came along. We did end up in bankruptcy. So if you're afraid of bankruptcy, I can speak to that. Some of the houses went into foreclosure. Can speak to that. But again, those are scary times. They are scary times. I'm not going to minimize that at all, but they are survivable. And then, so that was 2008. We'd recovered by about 2014, and at that point, we realized that there was money to be made in money. So we started doing hard money lending. So we're still got properties. Like I said, we lost about half of them. We're now up to 18 doors. And we like that number. There's a point where you can say, yeah, sure, I can have 150 pains in the butts, or I can have 18 pains in the butts. And so right now we've got an eviction and we've got a turnover. So, those things happen. It's just part of the process.
Better than 10 evictions and 10 turnovers.
Yeah. Systems matter when you get large numbers, though. That helps. And then in about 2017-ish, 18, I started coaching. And, as a computer guy way back, I was answering questions. And I would train people. So it was teaching, but it was also, here's how you approach the problem. Here's how to thinking about the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so turned that into the coaching that I do. So right now I'm running about 5 different businesses. So I'm still doing the computer consulting now. It's not full time anymore. We still got the rentals. I do work with my wife. We're hard money lenders, which means that if you come to me and say, hey, I want to borrow some funds, we'll go, well, we can give you those funds at outrageous rates, but we can close quickly. So the coaching, and I'm also a speaker. Enjoy all of those things, and I've been at this long enough that those things are now feeding back on themselves. So I'm working anywhere between 20 and 30 hours a week. So none of this 80-hour work weeks. When I was a full-time computer consultant, including drive time, because none of my clients were close, I was probably putting in about a 55 or 60-hour work week. But I was home every night, that was nice. And I have a real strong relationship with my wife. And we have 2 girls that have now flown the coop, and they're following their dreams, and they're doing completely different things. And sometime I'll talk about those, but that's not why we're here. Trying to think anything else that might be interesting background. So I have, we talk about stories. The 10 unit and 2 single families is one story. I have 7 such stories. Growth. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I don't want to take too long on this because you're the person we're going to talk to.
Fell of the ball, huh?
What's happening? Yeah. So, and I don't do anything that I don't enjoy. Yep. So
no, that's great.
So tell me about yourself.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to go through that. That honestly, we align in a lot of ways, and I'm really excited to get into this. I feel like it's almost heaven sent that we're even having this discussion. A lot of what you're doing is what I want to be doing and what I hope to do. But to get into it, so my background, I studied engineering in university. I played football and ran track for Missouri University of Science and Technology.
Which type of engineering?
Petroleum engineering.
Okay.
So a lot of fluid dynamics, and it's basically civil engineering, but on steroids, because we have a lot of unknowns. Is really the major difference.
It's problem solving. It's problem
That's
solving.
true. That's true. A lot of math. So that's my educational background, and from there, I really went to school to play football. To be honest, to continue doing sports. So my education took a back seat, and with the workload that I had signed up for, we're talking 4 hours of homework a day, on top of 2 practices a day, on top of 1 or 2 lifting sessions a day, on top of classes. It got to be so much for me not to be motivated and inspired to be a student. It got to be so much to where I would just go to the gym again instead of doing my homework.
Sure.
So from there,
Sure.
from there, had a lot of success in the athletic realm. Broke some school records on the track team. We had a lot of conference titles. Yeah, thank you. Had a lot of championships won over the years. But then I was left, I didn't finish my degree. So spent 5 years there, got student loans, didn't even make it count. Spent a lot of time developing my character and deciding who I wanted to be, or who I thought I wanted to be.
Okay.
So from there, I took on an engineering internship and did a lot of soul searching while I was in school and every day since, where the lifestyle that I want to live or the things I want to be doing is entrepreneurial, whatever it may be, whether that looks like washing windows or managing skylines, right? I want to be in an entrepreneurial seat. I feel like that speaks to me on a lot of levels, spiritually, physically, all those things. But moving into more of that, I decided, well, what skills do I need to learn to be a successful business owner? And so the one that screamed out to me was sales. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to find a sales job. So I did just that, started applying in St. Louis, my hometown, and found my first job as a freight broker. And this is the kind of job where I was putting in 150 to 250 cold calls a day. So I really cut my teeth, and got forged in the fires of rejection, hard work, putting it in, just showing up and doing what you need to do, which aligned perfectly with what I was already good at. I didn't really know much more than just working really. I wasn't born athletic. I wasn't born unathletic, but I had no gifts, by no means. It took me 7 years to even become relevant in an athletic space. And so the way that I achieved that is just working harder than anybody around me. I was like, well, if I work harder than everybody I see, hopefully it'll work out. And so that job really aligned well with my strengths. I was like, well, I'm just going to look around. You could imagine the hiring classes were en masse. It was quite high turnover in that space. Yeah. And I'm like, well, everybody that comes in, I'm just going to do more than they do. And so managed to stick around there for around a year, and then was like, you know what, I want to do something more that resonates with me. Okay. Right? So I got into coaching. I did a lot of coaching over the years, and then COVID happened. So quickly got out of coaching, went into the financial sector, and then went into working with the Y for a while, where I met my beautiful wife, amazing wife, who I now have a family with. We have a 2.5-year-old. She's incredible. My wife is incredible. She's actually from Mexico. That's a whole nother story in its own. I'm just like you, Scott, love to talk about my daughter and family. So don't get me on my soapbox there, but staying on track. Yep. From there, I was actually her boss when we met. So I got terminated because I wasn't supposed to have relationships with my subordinates. So from there, my life just...
Worth it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I do it 10 times over. From there, my life just catapulted. And I found a job in the firearms space where I was wholesaling to different retailers. Basically, We buy inventory en masse. We've got a warehouse full of stuff. I'm calling retailers that can't put in orders large enough to work directly with manufacturers. Long story short, middleman. And I sold $4 million in my first year with them. They decided to have me help them grow their sales force. And I was the first salesman they had ever hired. And my team was responsible for doing $16 million in sales my first year of managing that. And from there, just haven't looked back. I went to become a buyer for Primary Arms for a couple of years, was managing several million in dollars in inventory there. We were netting like $500,000 a month. It was awesome. Just in my category, I was like one of 6 people. It's an amazing, huge company, very successful. And just, I got sick of telling my wife that, like if I just keep working here, I'll get another promotion and we were in Houston, Texas. We moved down to Houston, Texas for this job. So I've got a 4-month-old baby. We move everything down to Houston, no family nearby, no friends nearby, no support. And I keep telling my wife, like, oh, we're just going to keep struggling so I can get one more promotion. I'm like, you know what? This just doesn't sound right. So on the weekends, I was doing gun shows with a buddy of mine in Louisiana, driving about 5 hours every weekend. And he's like, hey, if you just got your license in Texas, like, you could just do shows there and you wouldn't have to drive out here. I'm like, sounds like a free business? Like, finally, something fell into my lap. Well, took that on, and the company I was working for was like, nope, can't do that. So all of a sudden another got terminated, and now I'm like, whoa, was not ready for this. I was just starting the company to like have a license for him to operate with, for us to like do our thing. Well,
Right.
Before this, I get my job in Houston. Life's on the up and up. We got a solid, steady income. So I saved up some money over the years working at the wholesaler. I decided, all right, I've got enough money. I'm going to stop doing research. I'm going to stop watching YouTube videos. I'm finally going to become an investor. I'm just going to do it. So I'm on, when I'm working, I'm on, what's the real estate website in Houston? Houston has their own.
Pockets?
No, I mean like an actual marketplace. There's like the MLS. Texas or Houston has its own website. I can't remember what it's called. But okay. I'm on that every day, Zillow every day, just house hunting. And so I'm like, I don't have time to do this. So I called a bunch of realtors. And I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a property. I want to become an investor. And one just took to me and he's like, yep, I work with people like you all the time. We found this oversized single family home and it was huge. And he's like, hey, we could turn this into a triplex. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's turn it into a triplex. Like, this is perfect. So we buy it for $165 and then we do a 203K FHA loan. So we build in the construction loan into the purchase. We put about, 165. So we put about 145,000 in rehab into that loan, into that home, and turned it into a triplex, which I've had for about 2 years now. And
is that your only property?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And intelligently, sounds like yourself, I decided to make every single mistake on my first property. And so we bought in an area that's not going to appreciate over time. That was a wake-up call for me that, you watch these YouTube gurus, cash flow, 10 properties, you retire, cash flow. Well, my immediate wake-up call after replacing an HVAC, after now I have holes in my floor, after sending an AC guy out 6 times in a year to make minor repairs, after I don't even want to say what else. Cash flow means nothing to me. Cash flow is not paying for all those repairs. 10 years go by, I won't even recoup what I've spent. No chance. Sure. And what I needed to do was have that cash flow footing that bill, keeping the risk lower for these CapEx expenditures, right? CapEx.
Right.
And have that appreciation be what I'm sitting on later. Well, I don't even have that to look forward to. We're talking, sure. So I got misled. I trusted my realtor. My realtor made a recommendation for the contractor. Yeah, right. I'm an idiot. You're like, yep. The guy that makes money on you signing the paper. Yeah, good thinking there. Well,
had there done that, bought that T-shirt.
I mean,
There's several of those T-shirts.
you talk to professionals and you expect for them to behave like you would in a space, and I would never. I mean, it's talk is cheap, but I try to ask questions and live through people's eyes and help. If what I know, here's what I would do if I were you in your situation. Sounds like you could relate to that in a big way. So
Sure.
I take it for granted and expect the same. Well, the area again was awful. I mean, we're talking. I got my family here, and we got crackheads in the street, like slumped over, out in the front yard, like not in the yard, in the street, not in the yard. They do understand not to be in the yard. So I'm like, yep, this was a mistake. And I should have
protecting it with Smith and Wesson.
Well, yeah, a couple of this and that. So, which I should have known of course we checked it out before we bought it,
Yeah.
but I got those freaking investor goggles, first time buyer, and I'm just excited, man. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm looking at the numbers.
All of the possibilities.
And I'm looking at the numbers like, there's no way I lose on this. I'm going to be cash flowing like $1,000 a month. This is going to be incredible, right? This is going to be life changing for me. I'm going to finally do it. And that was more, I think, what I was focused on is I'm going to finally do it. And so, the fences in the front yards weren't enough for me to be able to realize where this was. But more importantly, I didn't understand where the wealth was created in real estate. So between that, losing my job, and it took a long time to get tenants in there, a whole nother story. I do have two solid tenants that pay the rent on time. The third one that replaced me after we moved out has paid late every single month. They've always got an excuse. And when they moved in, they were like, hey, what's your pet policy? I'm like, you just signed a lease that said you absolutely can't have pets. Like, what do you mean? What's my pet policy? You can't have pets. It's like, well, we have 5 dogs. And I'm like, well, I don't want this to be vacant anymore. We're talking I'm paying this mortgage with no job for months and months. We moved out. I got fired in October. We moved out in January. I didn't get a tenant until April. So I'm like, you know what?
Done that about those T-shirts too.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? Bring the dogs. Bring the dogs. I don't care. So
yeah, sometimes it's better to wait, but as you probably figured out.
Yes. Again, paid late every month. It's October 6th. Haven't been paid this month. I'm looking up if I should evict or what I should do, trying to figure out what my options are. And
have you been in the property?
I haven't been in the property
recently.
I haven't. So it's in Houston, Texas. I'm in St. Louis now. It's a nightmare. The only thing that's allowing me to even remotely be able to manage it is I have this amazing old lady who her name is on the street. Her family has been there for decades, and she just has nothing better to do but be in other people's business and help me. So she knows everybody. She's connecting me to people that can help me fix ACs in an emergency situation on the spot, flooring people in emergencies on the spot. And she's also kind of hard nosing, saying, "Hey, don't be messing around with my." She's actually, my daughter is responsible for her adopting our family because she just won her over. So
Nice.
Hopefully, that pretty much gets us up to speed with where I am here.
I'll ask the question again. Has someone been in the property specifically with the dogs to see what the condition of it is?
Yes, her name is Miss Thelma. She has been in there to tell me there's holes in the floor that I need to repair.
Okay. Because the question on specifically on that problem, and we can talk about a lot of different things, is that the longer they're in there, the more damage they're going to do. So you can say, one of the things that you can do is to say, okay, we're no longer accepting late rent. You have to give a month's worth of notice and say, it's on time. I assume you're collecting late fees?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I have 2 thoughts. One is, it's working. Is it cash flowing at all?
Yes.
Now?
If we ignore all the nightmare surprise expenses, yes, it's cash flowing very well.
Come up. Yeah,
there's going to be plenty more. I just got a quote for the floors, and I think the cheapest he said he would do is $3,000. So
Okay.
again, so let's walk through the numbers. So the P&L or P&I is 1,900. I pay about 800 in taxes in my escrow. So about 2,700 a month in my mortgage. First unit is a 3x2. I have it at 1,600 a month with 300 in pet fees. Unit 2 is a 1 bed 1 bath, 1,100 a month. Unit 3 was 1,200 a month. He's signed his lease twice now for shorter terms than 12 months for 1,500 a month. So that
Okay.
puts me at 4,500 a month. I pay all utilities. When I did the rehab, I set it up to where I would not have to do that, but that's where we get into this contractor who did not do any of the things as well as he said he would. I'm also faced with, should I sue him? All that stuff is government HUD compliant. I think I should. He's put me in a really bad way, but I don't know how to go about any of that stuff. It's overwhelming.
Is he still doing work for you?
He's been done with doing work since August.
Okay.
And it's all inspected and approved and signed. I should say last August, not last August, the year before last August. I believe that's the timeline.
2024.
Okay. All right. So at least you have some cash flow, even if it's going to get consumed with all these repairs.
I pay about $1,000 a month in
Okay.
utilities.
So the two thoughts that I had was just kind of set that aside. I mean, you're still going to have to deal with it. There's no question about that. And then where do you want to go? What do you see? If I can help you, what kind of help do you see me being able to provide? Obviously, I've got a lot of backgrounds in a lot of different areas, not just the real estate, but life coaching and business setup and all these other areas. So where do you see yourself going, and what kind of help do you think that you need from that perspective?
What a great question. Very hard to pin down where to take it. Well, there's a lot of help that I think we all need, but me especially would be in just drilling into what I need to be, what I want to do, right? So I know what's important to me. I was reading Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David, and a big part of being successful, doing what you need to do, is understanding why you're doing it. And my why for the longest time has been really ego based. It's been on validation. It's been very external. It's been, I want to have this impression on people. I want to have this image to people. I want to have this value to people. I want to feel that validation with my excellence to others,
Sure.
right? Probably stemming from a lot of the competitive background that I've got. But that's very empty, and also there's no foundation to that, right? It's very up in the air, and that means one person with a certain set of values, am I supposed to impress them, and also somebody else with a completely different set of values? There's nowhere to grow from, or nothing to build off of with that. So I've been reflecting on that and understanding that is not a key. It may be a short-term motivator. It may be something I can leverage to make myself to be disciplined, but it's not something that's giving me a vision and a big picture. I've been reflecting a lot on what I want that future for me to look like, and I've found that I want to be spending my time the way that I want to spend it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that financial freedom is a big part of what I desire out of life, and I don't really care how I do it. I could do it any which way that gives me that lifestyle, to be honest.
So what kind of components go into that vision?
So what does that vision look like? I would say something that's really important to me is my family. I want to spend time with my daughter this morning was upset that I was leaving. I don't want to have to leave. And that could look like I could bring her with me, right? There's not somebody telling me that I can't. I have the freedom to bring my dog, bring my wife, bring my daughter, bring my family, and it's just what we do. It's what our family does. And now I get to educate my family in real life scenarios, get to give them the foundations, the building blocks, the education that helps them live their own lives the way they want to live. That's what I want to do. I want to spend time on my family, with my family, whether it's doing the things with them, whether it's just having free time to be able to focus on them.
Okay. Cool. And you're describing it as you don't really care what the vehicle is. Do you have, besides real estate, do you have any other ideas of what that vehicle could be?
I do. I still have my firearms business. I have put almost no time into it, plenty of money, but almost no time into scaling it. I've built several AI bots to automate my marketing campaigns, just so, because as you know, starting a business, working a full-time W-2 and managing a crazy property is just, it's insane. The workload is insane, and when it hits, it all hits at once. It's not like it's not sprinkled in there here. No, it's like
Murphy works overtime.
100%, and so it's been overwhelming, and I've spent a lot of time grinding, and I'm like, okay, how can I offload these tasks, automate these things, and then I'm finding that with the nature of the business that I have, it all gets flagged. It all gets taken down or banned or all these things. It's not, I can't automate it. It can't be done. And even if I post it manually, I'm just posting a video of me at a gun show and it's like, hey, you can't post that. It's like, okay, so I can't market this. The only way I can market it is with SEO, and that means I'm competing against big dogs in an e-commerce space.
Have real money.
I worked for one. They have a dedicated SEO team. I do not have that. Right? So I'm at a crossroads with several things that I've tried to do. So I've tried to half-ass. I've done nothing. I've done my W-2 whole ass. My commitment. It's there. But the things I've been trying to do for myself, I haven't whole-assed. So
Sure.
I've been struggling with, do I even want to keep doing this? Is there opportunity? Yes. With my business, it's literally how do I say? I'm basically the middleman. It's all drop ship. I don't have to carry any inventory. If I just get people to the site and it converts, money in the bank. All the shipping labels, all the shipping itself, all that stuff's taken care of. So it's super scalable. Takes almost none of my time besides just looking through fraudulent activity, just making sure customers are happy, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right?
And even some of that can be outsourced.
Exactly. So it's super scalable, but I haven't committed to scaling it. And I don't know if I want to. And I'm struggling with that choice. I just haven't chosen. What do I want to do? And I'm doing the worst thing, which is not choosing. Right?
That I have mixed feelings on that kind of attitude, because there's a gestation period that people need to go through before things start to go, yeah, that's the direction I want to go. And it you've done a lot of different things in your life, and that's a good thing. I mean, I'm impressed by some of the skills that you've picked up along the way. The fact that you did 150 phone calls a day, and that's one of those skills that everybody should have.
I agree.
And so, a lot of those things are, those become background skills that then help you with other things. And so essentially the question for you is, is picking a direction, and then I don't know that committing to it 100% is the right way to phrase it, but committing to it. It could be committing 5 hours a week, and that, but you're committing to the 5 hours.
Right.
And, there are a number of vehicles. Real estate clearly is one of those that has serious long-term potential. It's, as you discovered, when you have one property, if something goes wrong, you're screwed. When you have 10 properties, when you have 20 properties, the law of averages starts kicking in. And so, yes, you may have 2 furnaces go out in the summer, but you get 5 years where nothing happened.
Right.
And so the larger the number of properties up to a certain point, that law of averages kicks in and smooths out those ups and downs. So if I have a roof go out, yeah, it's a big expense. If I have one property, that's disastrous. Whereas if I have 20 properties and one roof goes out, yeah, it's a pain in the butt because it's still all that outgo, but
Right.
it's just kind of yet one more thing to deal with, and that can, I mean, if you don't have your system set up right, that can be a challenge. So I guess the question is, you have to kind of figure out where you want to go. Now, if you did get involved in my coaching, the very first thing I have you do is to write a vision statement. And my vision statement's a little different than most because I have, and you get to pick your categories, but anywhere between 8 and 15 breakouts, 15 different categories. So family, which is very important, and I do not want to minimize that at all, is just one of these, call it 10 categories, right? And so, you go through each of those categories and say, okay, so what would a 10 be like in this area, on a 1 to 10? And that becomes your vision statement. It doesn't need to be super complex, but what you want and what I want are completely different. So my vision statement won't look anything like your vision statement. Same thing true with Jake. And so, that's the very first thing is, and you can do that whether you do anything or not. I mean, multiple categories, think about all the different areas in your life and what do you want them to look like? And business is one of those areas. Now, in my case, I have multiple businesses, so I have 3 areas that I build that kind of mini piece within my vision statement. But because of who I am, I mean, I'm also very focused. And I love what I do. And the computer programming as an example, I get paid for playing. Somebody comes along and says, "Hey, you want to do this?" And it's like, "Ooh, that sounds cool." So I go out and do it. And oh, by the way, I get paid for it. And so that's part of my vision, is because I do get that satisfaction from having created. And it sounds like some of the things that you've done over your years, you've been very, very satisfied from what you've been able to create. I do hear an awful lot of the W-2 job approach, which is nothing wrong with that, because I mean, we need experience from various different places. And so, so part of the question for you is to figure out where you do want to go, and that's in all those different areas. I have a different view of balance than most people do. I think of it in the context of I'm riding a bicycle, so you're never actually in balance. It's like you hit a pothole and you're going this way, and then you correct, and now you're over here, and it's all about correcting, not about. I mean, if I assume you've ridden a bike over the years, you're never quite in balance. It's always about adjusting, and to me, that's what life's all about. And so when somebody says balance, that's what I think of when I think of balance, is that kind of model. And so, right now, family is going to be heavier on the model.
Right.
That's not out of balance. That's just, okay, so now I'm on this side of the road instead of this side of the road. Okay. And then when your kids get into being teenagers, then they're going to have their life of their own, and they're not want to do anything with you. Been there, done that. Bought those T-shirts. Now they're out on their own, so they're on their own. We support
Deeply
them
hoping
any way
against
we
that.
can. Yeah.
They're losing their phones, so they don't want to hang out with Daddy. Let me tell you. No more.
That'll work up to a certain point. Yeah. So somewhere around age 13, and it varies with the kid and an environment, you start to become dumb. And as time goes on, you get dumber and dumber and dumber. Oh, Dad, that's so stupid. And then somewhere around and that stays out through when they got out into the real world, you know, in their early 20s. And somewhere around 25, 26, 27, they discover suddenly dad and mom suddenly got smart.
They know everything.
Right. Well, never gets there.
Yeah, true. But they've been where you are. They might be able to steer you, right?
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and it usually happens when they start having to deal with the realities of real life, like kids in their own right, you know, jobs. You know, they start to go, well, you know, what would Dad do? And now they can come back to you. They'll never fully take your advice. You just give up on that idea.
Oh, I've already been accustomed to that. Nobody does. Maybe it's a me problem. Maybe I need to look introspective.
So right now, if I'm hearing it right, your biggest obstacle is figuring out what direction to go.
I would say so, and getting rid of this property. That much I know. That much
I know this is so are you tied to the property that you want to maintain the property? That you want to keep the property?
No, I want to get rid of it badly. To the point where I'm not even sure. I might just take a loss just to be done. So a little bit more, I didn't really complete my story. When I found a job taking me back to St. Louis, I worked for a painting company, Malone Painting, which is an incredible organization. And I've quickly, it feels God sent again. It's funny, ever since meeting my wife, it's like undeniably everything happens for a reason, without question. I know. I could tell you our story another time, but it's incredibly magical. Like,
Sure.
So, doing painting or being exposed to the trades, now I'm getting this inside look. I'm seeing how repairs are done. I'm seeing how prices are created. I'm building relationships. Most importantly, I'm well networked in St. Louis. I know plenty of reliable, trustable contractors, and I've got this network, and now I'm be able to say, now I can invest. Right now I know I've learned some lessons. I've got the tool set. I just don't have any funds. Now I'm like bleeding. I'm just hemorrhaging money on all these different things. We're a single income household, and you know, I'm being the provider and focusing on what's important, but also trying to build at the same time. So that's where I found myself that I have to get in. I almost couldn't not invest in real estate here in St. Louis. I know it like the back of my hand. I mean, I could just go on and on about how the stars have aligned for me to get into this. I just don't have. I have a partner who has access to funds, but now I've got so much time in my W-2 that even with wholesalers sending me deals, well, first of all, I don't like the numbers. I've decided I absolutely will not buy a property unless I'm laughing all the way to the bank like I'm not doing it. And I just don't see the margins right now. Yeah. And I feel like I need a coach or somebody to be like, Jaren, you're holding yourself back from what you had the opportunity last time and you dove in without knowing what you know now. And now you're letting those scars hold you back. Or maybe I'm being smart. Maybe I am doing the right thing and holding out.
Well,
right?
I can feel that the answer is in between those two. Is that there aren't really good deals out there, but it doesn't mean you can't make them. And you've got some skills. I mean, if you've been in sales, you understand the process of dealing with it. You may need some language, may need some creative finance solutions, you know, techniques on how to deal with those. I don't think that's I think those are quickly learned.
I spent plenty of time on YouTube University. I mean,
yeah. The problem with that, there's two problems. One is that sometimes what they teach is junk, and I think you're beginning to get enough knowledge that you can separate out the really bad stuff. And the second is that they tend not to be localized. They don't, you know, they're talking about, oh, I'm in New Orleans or in Miami or in Atlanta, because that's where all the big gurus are. And so their advice works great, you know, in Atlanta, which is, you know, a fairly high-priced city, but St. Louis, it's not that high-priced.
Right.
I mean, there are places, obviously, in any city that are, you know, but it's, and, you know, and the areas that you want to invest in are going to be the ones that are going to focus more on the cash flow than the appreciation. And that's just smart business. And some people, that's all they do. They just stay in the cash flowing end. The lower the property, the lower down the property scale it goes toward the war zones, the better the cash flow in general. I mean, we're talking generalities here.
Yep.
And as you go up into the nicer and nicer properties, you can get to the point where a really good property has negative cash flow.
100%.
Right? And so you got to find that balance where you get good cash flow and the dollar amounts are large enough that it's worthy of spending the time. I mean, if you buy a $5,000 house and rent it and put another $5,000 into it, and you get $500 a month, that's great, and you're probably going to walk away with 400 of those dollars because the taxes are going to be small. I mean, everything's small, but you're going to be repairing a lot of stuff. But but the cash flow is great. You might, like I said, you might walk away with with $10,000 investment with $400 a month. That's
not bad.
Pretty nice.
It's not
right?
bad. 25 months paid up.
Yeah. Whereas if you move up the scale, that ratio isn't quite as good, but it's a lot safer.
Right. Which is more what I'm leaning to after being burned. I'm like, let me get into Ladue.
Yeah. Well, our rule, because my wife does a lot of the actual day-to-day property management stuff in our properties, is that if she feels uncomfortable driving through a neighborhood, we don't invest there. And I would say if you took your wife through a neighborhood and if she felt uncomfortable, don't invest there. Just, nice,
Easy.
simple, easy criteria.
And that way, if you invest there, it's her fault, not yours. Genius. I love what you're getting at here. This is awesome.
Okay. And then, and so what I found, and this is kind of a rule of thumb as I see it, is that the first 5-6 properties, you're probably going to break even. You're gaining experience, you're figuring out what the contractors are, you're figuring out, now you may have gone through it full-fledged with a triplex. Still think you probably have a few lessons to learn, although, working with a painting company that's going to take some of those lessons out, which is good. So you're not going to make any money really until you get probably between 10 and 15 properties. Now I'm counting single families, and if you get into multifamilies, it's not a one-to-one relationship. So like the 10 unit I would count as a 6 unit or 6 equivalent.
Right.
Just because it's a multi-unit.
Right.
Now, multi-units come with their own challenges. We had our 10 unit, we had one guy almost empty the building.
Wow.
Yeah. Good news is that time heals an awful lot of mistakes. If you can make it so that you buy properties that at least break even and slightly cash flow, you're not making any money now, but you add 5 years onto it, and rents are going to go up, your mortgage is not going to go up, the value is going to go up, so you're going to be increasing your equity because those things typically come close to inflation. So if you think about inflation as your easy measure, then rents are going to go up based on inflation. Now there are highs and lows. It's not a one-to-one relationship. It's a it's a roller coaster. Think COVID. It's a real good example. And so but the key is let me give you a different example that I think illustrates the point real well. So when you buy properties, you're going to buy them with debt to start with.
Right.
Whether it's your debt or somebody else's debt, it's going to be debt. So you buy 20 properties and you've got debt on those properties. You're probably going to cash flow somewhere between $100 and $300
Right, per
per
door.
property.
Yeah.
Single family, just, keep it simple.
Right.
20 properties. So let's say $100 a month cash flow times 20 properties, that's $2,000 a month. Yeah, you can't do much with that. Okay. I don't know too many people that can live on $2,000 a month. Run it forward and be aggressive about paying off the debt. They go debt free. Now you're looking at $500, $600, $700 a month, not even taking into account inflation because the debt was so expensive. Now you're looking at, let's say, $500 a month times 20 properties. That's
Right.
$10,000 a month. Most people I know can live on $10,000 a month. Now, I might not stop there, but it illustrates the fact that you want to start with the debt because that allows you to grow much faster. But it's also risky, as you're discovering in Texas, and it's also cut your cash flow out
Mm-hmm.
because you got to pay that debt. Now, I'm a big believer in debt. I believe that debt is very valuable. The ratios are important, so you don't want to have too much debt. So you can go to 90% loan to value. That's great, but that puts you in a highly risky position.
Right. That's
right?
what I'm experiencing
So-
with this FHA. I've got no equity baked in.
Yeah. And so there's a number of different. I've got some rules of thumb that I use that kind of indicate where those numbers should be, and it's going to depend, partly where you are in your life. So at different points in your life, you're going to, and in your investing career, you're going to want different ratios. We won't go too deep into that because I could talk for hours. Been known to do that actually. I was going someplace with it. Oh, just that it's quantity matters. I mean, having one property is a problem. So listening to what you've said, and I realize that I don't have all the facts and I don't have all of the details. I would unload the property. I would try not to take a bath. See, that's that's obvious. I would see if I could find some of what we call California buyers, somebody that's looking for properties that they had. So a California buyer, in my definition, is someone who typically has some flat out cash. $100,000, $200,000 cash. Can't buy anything in California for $100,000. It's just, that doesn't even make a decent down payment.
Right.
Right? But if you come to the Midwest, whether that's St. Louis or Ohio or Western Pennsylvania or Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, $100,000 can typically buy you a pretty decent house, even if it's not 100%.
Right.
I mean, but think about that. And so somebody with $100,000, $200,000, buying a property in Texas where it, if you buy it with cash like that, it will cash flow, right? It's the debt that takes out the cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if someone out there has the funds, they can have instant cash flow by buying it in mostly cash or in all cash. Now, we're not in that position. We're looking at it from the standpoint of, we've got X amount of funds, and we want to spread those funds out to purchase a number of properties. I mean, I got lots of assets, but if I want to buy 10 properties to build up my portfolio, that $100,000 I have in cash ain't going to go very far,
Right.
right? So I'm going to use the debt,
Mm-hmm.
but that builds my process long term. Whereas somebody in California, they might only be interested in a couple of properties. So their viewpoint on what makes a good deal is way different than ours. And they may also be looking at it from the standpoint of just storing the cash. If I've got cash sitting in a bank account, it's losing against inflation. right? Whereas if I can invest that into a physical asset that typically goes up, then, you know, I've at least stored it in something that's not going to lose value. Might gain value because, I might have some debt. I might, there are lots of ways in which it can gain value. And I have some control, so I can repair that place and make it nice.
Mm-hmm.
And neighborhoods do turn over. Sometimes they turn over down, sometimes they turn over up. So there's my thoughts. So I would see if I could see if you can find a realtor. You might actually see if you could find a realtor in the St. Louis area that's willing to work with someone in the Texas area to find a investor out of some of these richer areas. I mean, if you can find a realtor in Texas, great, go with that. But not being there, it's going to be a little more challenging.
Yeah.
And you're going to want someone who has out-of-town buyers. That's the key word, is how many out-of-town buyers, that's the question. How many out-of-town buyers do you have? What's your ratio on out-of-town buyers versus local buyers? Because that's going to be the one that's going to, and if somebody says, oh, about 50-50, they're the ones you want to go with.
Okay.
Because they're going to be able to bring that. Right now, the selling technically is the easy side of the business, okay? It's not as good as it was a year ago. We're still in a seller's market. We're not in as great a seller's market as we were. And most people go, oh, now we're in a buyer's market. No, we're not. Not even close. We're still in a seller's market. So, and I would do this fairly quickly.
Okay.
Because the market is changing, and a bunch of properties, you may have some competition because, what city did you say it was in?
So it's in Baytown, Texas.
All right, what's that next to?
It is east of Houston.
Okay. I think that's one of the cities where there was a huge amount of multifamily development, big multifamily unit, like
Houston?
complexes. And all that stuff's coming on the market right now. And in 2 years, it'll all be absorbed by the market, and then there'll be a shortage again. So right now, there's a little bit of a surplus. I know Florida has a huge surplus. Everywhere you go, what the logic is that 5 years ago, all these big development companies said, "Oh, let's build these multifamilies. They take about 5 years to develop." And then they said 2 years ago, they said, "Well, we'll quit developing. We'll stop all new development." Right? So we get this big chunk that comes on the market. And it's going to push prices down. It's going to it will convert to a buyer's market in those markets. And then we get the shortage again because nobody's building.
Right.
Nobody's building any new stuff. And with multifamily especially, it takes from the time that you say, hey, I want to do this, to get all the permits, to get all the land, to get all the contractors lined up, to actually get something built, to get it inspected, all those different steps is about 5 years. And so we're right now, all that stuff coming on the market. And that's good in one sense. So if you want to buy something in those markets, I'm going to pass on that personally, but
I want to buy the development company is what I want to do. That's what I want to buy.
not right now. Not right now. No, they're going to be hurting because those development companies have all this inventory that they're trying to unload. And it's going to depress prices. So they're going to lose money. A lot of them are going to lose money. Now, 2 years from now, once all those units have hit the market and prices have bottomed out, then it makes sense. Now, the rest, so there's kind of two kinds of markets. There's the Florida, Texas, Phoenix, California, which are very cyclic. They rise very rapidly and then they fall very rapidly. And then there's the kind of the center of the country, the Midwest. There's some exceptions. Minneapolis, for some reason, is an exception. I don't quite understand it, but whatever. Um, where it's more like, yeah, it goes up and it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. It doesn't move much, and that's good from a long-term perspective. But there's no cycles to take advantage of.
Hmm.
So if you understand the cycles, then you can take advantage of them. But our areas, no, it's cash flow. And if you don't get a property that has cash flow, then you might as well not buy. But you can make cash flow in various different ways.
So Scott, I definitely appreciate that you're giving like a recommendation here to Jaren, like, hey, get out of the problem property, what have you, and that maybe that gives you some peace of mind, Jaren, just to hear it from another source. You kind of already voiced like, no, I need to get rid of it.
Yeah, I've been working on offloading it for over a year. It's I think the recommendation on finding out-of-state buyers is really helpful. I think that's going to be something I can pursue. I've felt like at a loss that nobody's going to buy it from me. I've had it on the market for almost over a year now.
Yeah, it's been burned. If you're listing it with MLS, with the realtors, typically properties get burned in about 2 months. And then at that point, because there's no changes, nobody's even going to see it. So in that case, you'd almost be better take it off the market for a month or two and then put it back as a new listing.
Okay. Maybe I'll do
but
that when I've got my buyers lined up.
There you go. And then, so I guess like looking forward, if real estate is a vehicle that he wants to pursue, like what's his like strategy? What's his like path into real estate? Like, is it going for the rental portfolio here, or what do you think based on everything?
Yeah. I would say for sure. Long term, that portfolio is the core. You can do the fix and flips; those are great, and they get you chunks of change. But once that chunk is gotten, then that's it. There's no more. There's no residuals. Rentals are slow, meaning that you're not going to get a lot per month per unit, but they're steady. You need to take into account set-asides for that maintenance, the set-asides for property management, set-asides for the 3 categories. So you take into, you essentially calculate your net operating income, and then which includes those set-asides, and then you calculate in some profit, and then you can say that's how much you can buy it for.
Right.
There's a nice equation for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard lots of different stories depending on the individual. Buy 3, sell 2 of them, and pay off the 3rd one. Buy 2, pay off, fix and flip 1 of them, and reduce the debt on the 3rd one, and use it as a cash flowing asset to help pay for itself. And of course, multiply this times 10, times 20, and so if you have a single expense like a roof or a furnace, then the overall cash flow from the 10 or 20 then pays for that sudden expense, and you still walk away with some funds.
Yeah. I feel like the fix and flip is almost a need for where I am financially. Even with a hard money lender, I don't really have enough. I'm honestly just like slowly bleeding down on a month by or check by check basis right now, especially with all these things that keep adding up. So I'm like, it's almost to the point where if I could get into a good fix and flip and just recover to have a safety net is all I can really see for me right now.
Yeah, I support that. I really do support that. But then I'm going to give you the but. What I've seen is that people then rely on that and don't get out of that model.
Okay.
It's really good in a really short term, but it's real easy to go, oh, I just got $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, let's do that again and make another $30,000. So now I have $60,000 in my bank account. No, you don't. You have $30,000 in your bank account. It doesn't add up. because you're going to live off of it. You're going to use that investing for the next property. It's going to go away.
Right.
And so the only way to get out of the circle is to have something that generates passive income. Doesn't have to generate a lot, but it pays for itself, including the debt.
Right.
And I mean that you read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book?
Parts of it. I haven't read the entire thing front to back.
Okay. So I have 3 books. That is absolutely the first book that I recommend every single person, bar none. Everybody should read that book. And then depending on what your individual circumstances are, then I have a list of 200 books to follow on from there.
I've been buying a book like a week, and I do a lot of driving, so I've been reading a lot of books.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. So, go get the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. I also recommend the Cash Flow Quadrant.
Okay.
That's also a very good book. If you can find a cash flow game, it's like a Monopoly game that's like the RIAs put on. Usually there's one, it's like once a month typically in most areas. That's also a good thing to end, because that kind of solidifies the Rich Dad Poor Dad book.
Mm-hmm.
And talks about you've got a lot of the concepts already of that process, so it's not as big a jump for you, but for some people it's a big jump. Go from that W-2 stance.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good. So, Jaren, definitely appreciate you digging into so many things. And when you say you're like bleeding all around, I definitely feel like some of this vision piece that Scott's talking about could be helpful, right? Figure out where all to stop the bleeding if it's not like the direction you're going on.
Right.
That is always the first step in Scott's coaching process.
Yep.
So it may be helpful to really dig into that. How did you how do you feel today? How are you feeling now with the have you gotten some of the answers you were looking for? Do you unlock any major insights here?
So the thing that's standing out most for me is having an action item I have some hope again for somebody wanting to buy this property, because that would in itself be peace of mind. Whether I would love to recoup the initial investment, I think up $30,000, that'd be like heaven sent, amazing. Let's do it again here in St. Louis immediately. But I think even just stopping the bleeding and just getting that mental load off would be huge for me. That's the biggest takeaway I've had. And then something that I know that I've needed to do is really pursue that personal vision and figure out, what is it at the end of this tunnel that I'm actually trying to grind for. Like, I spent a lot of hours, a lot of time, even without having that dialed in. Imagine I knew what I was working towards, what I could do.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jake,
Well,
did we set up a free giveaway? I thought we did.
I think it's
The vision statement.
right. Yeah, howtohackrealestate.com/vision.
Vision.
Yeah, so you definitely want to take a look at that, Jaren.
I will.
Great. Well, like I said, Scott's first step is always that vision exercise, so definitely download that, check that out. If you'd like more information on how to work with Scott, he likes to have a full year, 12 months, walking with somebody, deal by deal, to find and close 10 real estate deals according to the strategy that fits your life and vision.
Okay.
And so if it's something you'd like, I'd be happy to connect you with Scott if you'd like to explore that further.
Oh, I think that'd be incredible. I know that I've learned a lot of lessons, but I don't want to do it alone anymore. Even in the home life, being the single income family, I love being the guy that's bearing everything on my shoulders and being able to just deal with that stress. But I don't love doing it alone. You know what I mean? So
I understand.
Yeah, there's no ego trip for me that's a good thing. I know that if I had the support that I needed and the leadership to just be able, accountability too, to be able to make that happen. That'd be huge for me. So that would definitely be something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll definitely connect you guys. Well, good. This has been another episode of How to Hack Real Estate with Scott Krusemark. Thank you, Jaren, for coming on. Everybody is listening. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so that people can learn some of the wisdom that was shared here today in this virtual room. And we'll see you next time.
And
Thanks
if
for having
anyone's interested in being a podcast guest, get hold of Jake.
That's right.
Sweet. Thanks for having me, fellas. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for your help, Scott.
Good to talk to you.
Thanks, guys.